Thanks for coming back to another episode of the Your Gray Matters podcast. My name is Jason, here as always with your host, my dad, Neil. Hey, Dad, how's it going?
Wonderful. Hi, everybody. Glad to have you here.
And we are glad you're here. We've got a remarkable episode this week. We often talk about things, products, services that improve your quality of life. And now we're going to talk to you about two people who are going to improve your quality of life. They've improved the quality of life of literally hundreds of thousands of people, whoever has had the opportunity to see them. And what am I talking about, Dad?
Well, I have to tell you, these people have touched the lives themselves, have touched the lives of great stars like Elvis Presley met them, the Rolling Stones, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Rod Stewart, Rush, Triumph, Anne Murray, and even a well-known band, RPM. I mean, they are superstars, rock stars, if you will, in the music world.
Yeah, we've got Llynda More and Mark Gendel, two amazing people who you're going to get to know over the course of the next 50 or so minutes. But we wanted to give you a little taste right now of what they're all about. Check this out.
Break up a little piece of my heart, yeah. I have another little piece of my heart now, baby. You know you got it if it makes you feel good, yeah, if it makes you feel good.
Wasn't that amazing, Dad? The pipes on Llynda.
I'm telling you, a beautiful piece. They're so talented. Folks, you're going to love this one.
And the only thing to note about this episode is kind of ironically sort of funny. You know, these are two people who are very familiar with sound and sound quality. And we had a little bit of a hiccup on our end with the sound quality this time around. And you'll notice a little bit of crackling, maybe a little echo. All in all, it really doesn't detract from what is a wonderful program. And this is sometimes the way it goes. Sometimes you have these funny little things that just add flavor to the episode.
Don't let this stop you. Watch this and have a ball.
So with that, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Tell us if you're familiar with More and Gendel already and what your experience with them was like. And coming up, this episode of the Your Gray Matters podcast. Welcome to Your Gray Matters, the podcast that unveils the miracles already amongst us. Here, we believe that the human mind cannot be defeated. Tune in to discover the fascinating people with extraordinary stories, innovative products, and groundbreaking services. With your host, Neil Silvert, who's earned his gray hair and still has use of his gray matter.
Hi, everybody. I'm Neil from the Your Gray Matters podcast. Welcome back. We're excited to have you. Thanks for tuning in today. We are fired up today. We have superstars from Las Vegas, New York, a great couple, and I want to tell you all about them. Hi, Llynda. Hi, Mark. Welcome to the Your Gray Matters podcast.
Hi, guys.
Neil.
Super excited to have you. Everybody, I want to tell you about Llynda More and Mark Gendel. And I want to tell you right away that you'll learn lots more about them on the moregendel.com website. I don't want to steal all the cool stuff on this website, but let me tell you about the two of them. Llynda and Mark, they've been a musical team for over 3 decades as writers, record and video producers, and live performers. They both have been major label recording artists. They met in Nashville, where they began writing and producing songs together, and they ended up in New York for almost a decade. And now they're in Las Vegas for many years, where they currently reside. They write, they record, they perform all over the world. And for fun, they do impressions of 2 major stars, Marilyn Monroe and Ozzy Osbourne, and I'll let you figure out who does which. So everybody, let me tell you about Llynda More. Born in Nashville, Tennessee, Llynda was destined to be a music star from a young age. What a pedigree she has. She's the daughter of the legendary bass player Bob Moore. He was named by Life magazine as the #1 country bassist of all time. His bass lines can be heard on over 17,000 records by some of the greatest artists America has ever produced. Elvis Presley, Bob Dylan, Johnny Cash, Simon and Garfunkel, Dolly Parton, Kenny Rogers, Patsy Cline, Roy Orbison. The list goes on and on and on. So Llynda was inspired to sing and write songs from an early age. Her abilities led her to perform in bands and compete in talent contests. And she was rewarded with a scholarship to Belmont University in Nashville, as well as a recording contract with CBS Records and a music writing publishing deal with multimedia powerhouse Warner Brothers. I want to ask her in a few minutes about this next part, which I think is incredible. She entered the Miss Nashville pageant and she won. She ended up winning the Miss Tennessee pageant, and this was a talent award. She did very well. She competed for Miss America pageant and she did very well with it. And in a few minutes, I want to ask her about the validity of the pageants because I think that they're marvelous and misunderstood. I'll ask what Llynda, thanks. Later, she signed to CBS Records and she was an all female group called Calamity Jane. She's multi talented and she's an entrepreneur. And we will be talking about her company, Llynda More Boots, which my Llynda is crazy about. Mark Stephen Gendel. Mark's background is an exciting landscape of colorful people and experiences. And, he started in Canada in a little city called Kitchener, but he ended up at a very young age studying guitar in Madrid, Spain. And he was really young. And I want to talk to him about both these people, what it takes to pursue this career and be as successful as they are. But originally from Kitchener, as I said, Mark quickly was recognized at a young age for his musical guitar genius. People started hearing about him. And you know what? He had guts because in his early years, he was already pursuing his dream. In Toronto, he became an apprentice engineer at Sounds Interchange Studios, where he worked with world-class artists such as the Rolling Stones, Black Sabbath, Rod Stewart, Rush, Triumph, and Anne Murray. And pretty soon, he had a few bands of his own, with an important one called RPM. Although, Mark, I used to follow Copper Penny when I was a kid. I love that band. RPM's debut was recorded and released under the Capital EMI label. Under his direction, the band recorded their second album in London, England, for Warner Brothers, where he co-produced the record with Gary Langan, former engineer for the world-renowned band Yes. Oh, yes, I love that band. So Mark went on in the future. He had an opportunity to work with Warner Brothers as a writer, producer, and that led him to New York, where he wrote, performed, and produced songs that have been in films and television, as well as recorded by other artists. He and longtime partner from Nashville, Llynda More, also have had a successful original rock band that performed in the New York City club circuit, where they eventually moved to Nashville to pursue their own independent record label. Right now, as I said, they reside in Vegas and they are such big stars. And when they're not doing all that, Mark is developing a unique line of electric guitars in Gendel Guitars. After years of performing, he was inspired to redesign the instrument to better accommodate professional guitar. I'm going to ask him some questions about that. Mark, Llynda, welcome again to the Your Gray Matters podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
It's a real treat to see you again, Neil.
Me too. What a pleasure this is. And Llynda, I'm so glad to meet you. Guys, what a career you've had.
Likewise.
What a career you've had. And I know people are going to want to know this. How the heck did the two of you meet and start performing together?
Who's going to take that
Oh,
one?
I'll let you
Well,
guys can fight it out.
well, I'll start out and then you can finish. Does that work? Okay, we were both on major labels. I was on CBS and Mark was on Capitol EMI, I guess. I don't know the label, but his band was performing at the time and they were rehearsing for their performance at SIR, which is Studio Instrument Rentals, a big rehearsal space in Nashville. And my band was also rehearsing there. And so as fate would have it, we were both rehearsing the same day, the same hours, and I went out to the lobby to make a phone call to an attorney because we were in the process of redoing a contract or something. I don't remember exactly, but and Mark happened to come out to the lobby about the same time, and it,
Well,
you know,
l-
just kind of
let me
worked out
tell.
like that.
Let me take it from there. Our drummer had left the room, and he comes running back in. He goes, "You won't believe who's out in the lobby. It's Llynda More." And so right away, I'm like, "Who's Llynda More?" He says, "Well, she's Bob Moore's daughter, the bass player, and she was Miss Tennessee and Miss Nashville." And so I said, "I'll be right back." And so I went out to the lobby, and there she is. And I'm going, "What am I going to do to get this girl's attention?" Because she did look. She was actually on the phone, so I got the rear view, if you know what I mean, Neil. And the rear view was looking really good. So at that moment, I became a producer and I said, "Wow, tell me about what you're doing. And maybe we ought to get together and compare notes and see where you're headed here and maybe write something." And so you can tell the story from there, Llynda, because I think I gave her my number. Go ahead.
Yeah, he gave me his number and said, "Hey, why don't we write together or something sometime?" And I'm like, "Sure, maybe." Okay, so I took his phone number, but I hadn't got a boy in my life at the time. I was very serious with, so I was not interested in that and what I thought he was. So I put his phone number in my car and, and somehow it fell in between the seats. And maybe like, I don't know, 2 months later, I was cleaning my car one Sunday afternoon and my boyfriend and I had broken up. And so I found this phone number, like, oh, I remember this guy, and so I picked up the phone and that's it. Then we got together and started writing songs.
Yeah, like I had a house with a basement, and that's where I did my work. And when we did get together, we did write. We wrote very quickly after that. We did start writing songs, and yeah,
We
So you
did.
gelled very, very quickly in your music, is what you're saying. Uh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, I
y-
love
y-
fate. I
yeah.
love fate. Guys, I want to ask you something. By the way, that's a great, great story because I'm a great believer in things just happen and they're amazing. And then other times you have to make things happen. And I wanted to talk to you about the following. You're both so successful, but you both started really young. And entertainment is a tough gig. There's no question about it. And I wanted to know more about what it takes to rise through the ranks, to get to where you are, which are so well loved and so well known. And I'll just start by this. I'm going to shut up. Mark Gendel's a wonderful guy. He's in Kitchener. He's hanging out. Next minute, I know he's gone. Nobody knows where he is. Turns out at the young age of 16, Mark, you wanted to go to London to study music. That class was full, and you ended up in Spain at the age of 16 learning Spanish guitar with one of the great Spanish guitar maestros, I believe. And Llynda, you pursued it through the world of pageants and your own talent. Let me stop and just ask that question. Guys, what does it take to get to where you are?
Go ahead, Mark.
Well, that's I'm still trying to figure that one out, Neil. No, the truth. It really does help if you have an idea of what you really want to do when you're young. And if it's something that you love to do, you're ahead of the game with that as well. I mean, if you love what you do and you know what you want to do, and you can somehow carve out a way to keep yourself going doing that, That would be a start. But, all that said and done, a lot of people probably wish they could make money at what they love. In entertainment specifically, it takes a real tolerance for rejection because we'll be told no a lot. And I don't care who you are. The Beatles on down have dealt with rejection on a massive level. I mean, so you have to be able to go on. You have to be able to go
So
on.
you have
Uh,
to turn a deaf ear to the nose and keep going towards your dream.
You do, and if there's along with those no's, there are productive criticisms, then you have to go and analyze that. Because somewhere along if you get in front of good people and they're telling you no, well, then you might best take some notes and go back and redesign. But yeah, that would be
What?
that's how it's affected me.
How about you, Llynda? What do you think?
Okay. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people pursue music. They pursue a dream of becoming a star and successful in this business. But I don't think a lot of people realize the sacrifices that you have to make, and you have to really be willing to sacrifice pretty much everything. Um, and and it's not like it's a painful thing to do because if you love what you do, it's not even about making it to the top. It's not about being a star. It's just about being the very best that you can be, at what it is that you're doing. And that's always been what's driven me. Like I've never constantly thought, oh, I want to make it big. I want to be a star. I want to be rich. I want to be famous. That was never in the forefront of my mind. It was just, I want to be great at what I'm doing. I want to be sincere. I want to work hard and be a good person along the way. A lot of people will do anything and step on people along the way and abuse and use people. And it's just never been part of who I am, and if it meant I didn't get to have certain opportunities, then that's fine with me because I can lay my head down at night and go to sleep.
And you had some tremendous opportunities. I mean, you're an entrepreneur, but you also wanted to go to law school in music, and you would have made it big there, I'm sure, too. So the both of you so multi-talented, but what I'm learning is you keep your eye on where you want to be. You eat the meat and spit out the bones, as my Llynda likes to say, and you just keep going. And I think it's great. And Llynda, it's interesting because you really do have an amazing voice. Mark, you have an incredible guitar talent for sure. And I'm fascinated though when
Thank
you
you.
actually perform and you aren't quite yourselves. What I mean by that is I'd love to hear the story, please. Ladies and gentlemen, Llynda and Mark, they travel with a gentleman named Rob Garrett. He's a great Neil Diamond. It's a great show. But Llynda actually performs as Marilynda, who is actually
Yes.
Marilyn Monroe. And I'm telling you, you do a great job.
I wanna be kissed by you, just you, nobody else but you. I wanna be kissed by you alone.
But let me ask you, by the way, Mark does a terrific Ozzy Osbourne. And, it brought tears to my eyes. And my favorite song is No More Tears. So I was all confused with that. But that was really, really beautiful. I wanted to ask you, tell me the Marilyn Monroe story, please. How did that happen?
I had no intention whatsoever of doing this when I came to Vegas. I just was at a party one night. It's a very simple story. I had a long dress on. It was a big, beautiful, glamorous party, and I looked the part. And a Frank Sinatra impersonator came up to me and he said, "Have you ever thought about doing Marilyn Monroe impersonations?" I'm like, "No, I've never even thought that in my mind." And he said, "You should do it." And I'm like, "Okay, maybe, it sounds like a fun thing to do." Well, at the time, Mark was also like everywhere we went, people were always saying that to Mark, "You look like Ozzy, you look like Ozzy." And so, Mark had the idea that he wanted to get dressed up like Ozzy and Ozzy's rings and clothes and stuff. and go take some pictures. And so I said, well, hey, you know, if you're going to do that, I'll, come with you and I'll dress up like Marilyn and, just have some fun one night and take pictures. And that's really how it started. We took pictures and I just posted them on Facebook as a joke. I was like, and I just got a good reaction, really. And then an agent approached me and said, I'll pay you money to do this. So it's kind of hard to turn down because it's so easy. It's so fun. I mean, I get to dress up like the most glamorous, you know, star ever in American history, pretend that I'm her for an hour. And people just, Marilyn, I mean, they think I'm her. I mean, they don't really, but it's a fantasy. And it makes people so happy and excited. And I get paid really well to do it. And so, it's like a no
And
brainer.
I've seen the videos. I'll tell you, you're terrific. You can find them on YouTube, folks. You did a private party on one of them, and it is glorious. But I was just thinking now, if Mark, you could have only done President Kennedy, boy, what a story that would be.
You're right, right, right. That is funny. When she started doing this, I was pretty mesmerized myself. I helped her produce the videos and we put that stuff together, but she can actually sing this stuff and she can talk like Meryl. I mean, and a lot of impersonators, maybe I'm biased here, but Marilyn has, I know you know this, Neil. Marilyn has this like little magical thing that you can't really describe. And Llynda can do that. Whereas I thought she can't. I mean, and it's like that vulnerability or that innocence or whatever it is. She can put that across. And a lot of impersonators, stop at the look and the moves and everything. But I really think that Llynda has the thing down. It's remarkable, really.
That's what I said. I've
Yeah.
watched the videos and glorious, really well done, really terrific. Llynda, just while
Thank
we're
you.
on with your talents, and I'm learning quickly how to go back and forth here, but Llynda, there's a song that I listen to regularly. It's one of the most beautiful songs that you did called I Miss Tennessee. I love this song. I know, Mark, you were on it, of course, too, with Llynda. Llynda, can you talk a little bit about that song? I don't even know what to ask you about it, but it's just such a beautiful song. And the video presentation that you did, the two of you, is fantastic. Maybe talk a bit about that.
Thank you so much for those kind words. You know, I mean, one day Mark and I were talking, and I think, you know, I said, I miss Tennessee, and I think it's a joke. He said, well, I know you were Miss Tennessee. I go, no, I mean, I miss Tennessee, and so it got me thinking, that'd be a cool song, I miss Tennessee, double entendre there, so that's it. I have written a lot of my songs when I'm jogging. I don't know why, the blood flow to the brain, or something. But anyway, I just wrote it while I was jogging. I wrote the melody and the words and the feel of the song, and I just came home and jotted it down when I got back. And Mark did an incredible job co-producing it with me, and his guitar sounds incredible on it. And, it's it. I love the song. I wish, maybe someone, I mean, I'm not, obviously I don't have a major label deal at the time now, or at the time did I have one, but, maybe someday, who knows, it'll become a hit. And it's also being considered right now as an official song for the state of Tennessee.
Wow. Congratulations.
I don't want to say much about that until it
But even to
actually
be
happens, but
considered, I mean, that's really something.
thank
Really
you.
something.
Thank you.
I have to talk.
And then the video, Mark, why don't you talk about the
Yes,
video?
please.
How we made the video.
Well, that's really interesting. That was during COVID. And nobody was anywhere. It was, and it was a beautiful time of year that we did this. As I recall, we did that in June, and it was springtime. And Neil, I got to tell you, if you go in any direction outside of Las Vegas, it's beautiful. And anywhere you go. This particularly, we went to a couple beautiful areas. We went to Red Rock here, and there's a place that Llynda and I like to go. It's called Tacoma, California, and they have hot springs. It's a very historic place. It's where the borax was a big deal in this area, and it's just lovely for shooting. And we also went into the Mojave Desert, which is really, really nice, into California. And a lot of the scenes that were shot, it kind of looks like a railway station or something. It actually is. And I got to tell you, it's one of the most fun. I'm not making this up. It was one of the most memorable, incredible experiences. Just with these video, taking your little video camera and going to these places. Everybody's locked away in their house, and the world was so quiet. Really, I can't even compare it to a vacation. It was just a really incredible, memorable time. And we had all this lovely footage, and we cut it together, and the story just worked. And I'm pretty proud of it. I think it's pretty wonderful.
We did almost get arrested in the process.
Yeah,
I must add.
there is a story. The guy, when we were in the Mojave Desert by this railway station, a California sheriff came up, and he's giving us this rough time. We're not parked right. You can't shoot video here. He wanted to confiscate the camera. We talked him out of deleting our footage. It was unbelievable. He was nasty. And we later ended up with his supervisor, and the supervisor said, "You did not have to hand over your camera, and we're taking this under investigation, and we're going to have it out with him." Oh yeah, yeah.
He obviously was very bored during COVID, right? He had nothing
I
Yeah.
was
to do.
gonna
So
say, oh my God, but if you would have had footage of that, I don't think it would have fit in the video. But oh my God.
I'll tell you how insane this is. I mean, if you went into the spot that we shot this, there weren't two human beings within 100 square miles of where we are, except this cop. And we were alone in this nowhereville. Yeah, it was insane.
right.
So crazy. And everybody, you should know, you should watch this video, because not only is the sound beautiful, but you're right, Mark and Llynda, the visuals, the way you cut the shots, it's glorious. That's why I had to mention it today. I watch it a lot. It's just really beautiful. Congratulations for
Thank
that.
you.
I miss Tennessee, where the hills are so green, and the sounds of guitar pull the strings in your heart, and voices run free. I miss Tennessee.
Mark, there's two events that triggered you towards music. And it's funny, and I am not in any way musical. The drumming certainly proved that. But it's funny that we have this in common, because when I was about age 13 or 14, I'm a bit older than you, I went nuts when I heard Jimmy Page and Zeppelin. I was walking home from middle school, and I went crazy. And by the way, then I heard my first BS album, Black Sabbath, and I went out and I bought the drums. That motivated me so much. But the two things that stick out for you are just that. At the age of 12, you discovered Page, and then they came to Kitchener shortly after. Can you talk about that? And also, let's talk about the Star Spangled Banner story, because that helped to launch you. Is that not correct? These two events?
Well, I'll tell you. Well, let's start with Led Zeppelin. I guess a couple of my neighbors knew I was getting interested in guitar, and so I did get a call from one of my neighbors. He said, "Mark, you got to come over and hear this." So I go over there, and he played "You Shook Me" off the first record, off the first Zeppelin album. And as you know, he's playing slide on that. Well, I'd never heard anything like that. Never with that attitude. And I was just like, what is going on here? Who is doing this? Because even off of whatever record player we were playing at the time, I mean, the attitude that came off of that record at that time, I guess at my age, I guess I was 12 at the time, it was like overwhelming. It was an overwhelming moment. And we just sat and we started going through that whole record, and it just got better and better. It just got better and better, the whole thing. And so, like, I mean, that was a major motivator. Can I grab onto any of this? And I grab onto any of this? Because, and I'll tell you, like, I'm going to go back to something Llynda said, it's not about the money, it's not about the fame. What it was about for me is could I make somebody feel the way I feel hearing this? That's what did it for me.
And Mark,
That's
if
what did
I
it for me.
can, I think that that's what defines you. I fell in love with it. I liked it. I enjoyed it. You let it enter your soul. You let it enter your career path, your life, your future. And that's what I find so fascinating. Not much longer. And I'm a little sad to hear this actually. Wasn't much later that Zeppelin ended up in Kitchener and I missed them. And, but I
Uh,
also want to report that just 2 weeks ago, my Llynda went with her daughter to Colorado and they just saw the Robert Plant concert.
oh, wow, that's a goodie.
And they were
That's a
excited.
goodie.
Mark, thanks for sharing that because I think it was your late friend, the late great Chuck Morgan, wasn't it, who brought you up to listen to them?
Well, no, I was still living. Oh, no, I had moved to the apartment at that point, but I got pulled back to the street that I grew up on, and I believe it was a neighbor 2 doors down. He sadly passed away, but I think it was Bob Benishin who first called me over. Yeah, or we met at his place as a result of a call from someone else. Chuck might have been there. I don't remember that. I don't remember anything but hearing
Yeah,
that music.
and
That's
when
what I
I remember
remember.
walking from Stanley Park School to Whole Lot of Love, and there were no earphones,
Yeah.
there
Oh,
were
yeah.
no earphones or anything. I found that I was singing it out loud and walking down the street. You get strange looks. The other thing is the Jimi
Yeah.
Hendrix, the Star Spangled Banner story. You actually played that in the auditorium of your high school, did you not?
Well, yeah, but I wasn't in high school yet. I was in grade 8, and I got asked to do it, so I got permission to get the time off and go into the auditorium and do it.
Oh my lord. My lord, I gotta tell you, I think I was in there because the farthest reaches of my mind, I think I remember it. And I certainly
Yeah.
love the late great Jimmy for sure.
Oh, me too.
Can you tell us?
He was another great
Oh
influence.
yeah. I wanted to just touch on your band RPM. Could you talk a bit about RPM? Because what a moving time it was for you.
Off I go in my van, left Canada, and in search of my dream. As I've been writing this on my website lately, but my plan was really to get to Los Angeles and stop in Nashville and take time to surround myself with the best songwriters I could, because that's what Nashville is about. It's about the song. And along my path to finding songwriters, which I certainly did, I was invited to go upstairs to this demo session at ATV Publishing. ATV controlled the Beatles catalog at the time. I mean, it was quite a place. But for some reason, the door opened to me and I was instructed to go upstairs. And that's where I met the lead singer and the bass player. And when I walked in the room, the red light was on. They were recording a demo. And right away from my training at Sounds Interchange, I knew I'd hit on some talent because this bass player really stood out to me. He was remarkable. And he was really young, maybe 4 years younger than me. And I'm going, what's going on here? Yeah. So I kind of made my pitch to these guys that I wanted to do something a lot more rock than what they were doing. But they said, well, let's hear what you got. And we sat down, and the lead singer, Robert Johnson, and myself kind of hit it off. And me and Jimmy hit it off as well. But Bob and I really kind of took the reins on the writing. And it just went from there. I mean, very quickly after that meeting, we were in creative workshop, laying down our demos, which actually ended up being on the first album.
Yeah, wow. What a
It was a
remarkable. That's the word, remarkable story.
Yeah.
Llynda, I wanted to ask you, just I don't think you participate in pageants anymore. And there's been a lot of interesting controversy about pageants, but I can you tell us a bit about pageants? Because my understanding is these are generally intelligent, talented people who are more than some female form in a bathing suit. And I mean that respectfully. Tell me what your thoughts are on pageant.
Well, I was involved in the Miss America program, which is based on, not truly not beauty. It's really like 50, so 50, half of the percentage when they judge you is on talent. So, I mean, I basically consider it a talent contest. And then another very large part are the interviews with the judges. So, even though, it's a marketing thing, I mean, they marketed it in Atlantic City, years and years ago as a beauty pageant because it got people's attention, watching women parade around in bathing suits. But really, bathing suits are just a tiny part of it. But, I mean, that's just the Miss America program, and the beautiful thing about that program is that they offer scholarships. So that's what drew me to that because I was paying my own way through college, and I needed scholarship money, and I sang, so it was like a no-brainer, right? Just go compete in this thing, maybe you'll win a scholarship, and it worked. They are so people that put them down, listen, if you're gonna hate, you're gonna hate. A lot of people wanna hate. They wanna hate people that, all walks of life. No, it doesn't matter what you do. There's always people out there that are gonna criticize and put you down. Um, with pageants, I know that there's a lot of people that look at it that way, the way you described it, and you rightfully described it that way because a lot of people think that it's so silly, it's a mindless thing, and we're competing for what, whose body is better, who's more beautiful, and that is so unimportant for sure. But there's so many amazing things that a young woman learns from competing in a pageant like that. I mean, it pushes you to develop a talent, to get good at a skill set, to become articulate and expressive in an interview, which is, there's endless possibilities in terms of the things that you learn. They no longer focus on swimsuits anymore. They actually took out the whole swimsuit competition a few years ago because there's a lot of women that didn't like the idea of being judged by their body, and I understand that. But they took that out, and I was really upset about it because that I have to say, I mean, out of all the things that have had an impact on my life, competing in swimsuits on stage in front of, a group of people is what kicked my ass, to get in shape and be healthy, and it put me on a path for the rest of my life, to take care of myself. So, I mean, there's so much value in that people they don't wanna recognize, but it's true. So, there's a million wonderful things about competing. Now, some of the pageants that are out there, Miss USA and and now they've really abused it. Now it's like there's a Miss everything, the Mrs. Mrs. Happily Married Utah. It's like what? I mean, it's ridiculous, you know. But whatever, whatever. But so a lot of the pageants, I don't really know much about them. Maybe they are based on beauty and all that. I'm not in that world anymore. But
But for you,
the Miss America
but for
program.
you, it gave you opportunity and set you on your path. And
Absolutely,
fascinating.
absolutely, and I can, with all good conscience, share with people that if they get involved in the Miss America program, it's because it's based on rewarding women with scholarship. That it's an amazing thing to get involved in.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on all of it. I'm glad that it worked for you. Guys, just as
Thank
we
you.
start to wrap up, and I thank you so much for this, I want to talk about your artistic entrepreneurial sides. And Mark, I'm going to start with you. You studied with Polino Bernabe, a luthier. I had to look up luthier. But when you studied with him, which is, of course, manufacturing of stringed instruments and instruments, did that start you on your way to creating Gendel Guitars? So is that a part of it? Because you're now, I'll ask you, what's the motive behind your guitar designs? Because you're doing some amazing work with new guitars, are you not?
I've never been asked that about Paulino. That's a great question.
Oh,
I lived across the street from him when I studied. So if you know anything about Madrid, there's a center of the city called the Plaza Mayor, and you can
I've
buy an
never heard
apartment in there now for about $3 million. When I lived there, my rent was $21 a month.
a
A
month.
month,
Okay.
okay? Okay, and so I came out my door and I went to the left a bit, and right across the street was Paulino's shop. It was an extraordinary place to live because a lot of the greatest flamenco players would go in there testing guitars, and great classical players, of course. And he made concert quality instruments. Just for your listeners, if they're listening, Paulino got his start at the Ramirez Guitar Factory, and that's a world renowned. And he guitars that he made during his period are signed with a PB, and they're very sought after. Anyway, Paulino was a great guy. No, I had never really thought about making guitars at that age. Here's what got me inspired to do the design of my guitars. I'd been playing here for like 20 years in lounges with a guitar on my shoulder. And this thing, after a while, I've got neuropathy in my shoulders. After a while, I'm going, wow, this hurts. And I'm thinking, and I'm traveling, and traveling with a full size guitar is a real bummer on airlines. It's more so now than ever. And so I thought to myself, the guitar players are the professional guitar player, the guy who goes out 6 nights a week, 4 hours a night. We've got to come up with something better. So my idea was to lighten the guitar and make it more travel friendly. And along with that, but with the headpiece and the way the tuning is designed, it actually brings other benefits because it's a very stable tuning system. And that's what got me started. The thing with guitar players, though, they're not quite as adventurous as bass players. In other words, a lot of guitar players still like Stratocasters, Les Pauls, SG, and guitars that were designed like 60 years ago. And so I've tried to incorporate modern technology, like with the headless thing, and the lack of weight, only make it look like guitar players can relate to. They can see a Les Paul, they can see a Telecaster. And that was really where I'm headed. I had to kind of take it off the table for a bit because it's just an expensive endeavor. And we got so busy playing and we got busy with our boots. I just don't have time for everything. It is something I do want to revisit, though, because the people who got them in their hands really gave me great feedback, and they really enjoyed that guitar. And I hope I can pick it up.
And I hope you do, because I'm not a guitar player at all. Yet I watch the videos on those guitars, and really, ladies and gentlemen, you should take a look because it's fascinating what Mark has done.
Yeah.
I wanted to pick up.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to say this, Mark. I read this, Mark, about you. If you take the word Gendel, your last name, and just change around some letters, it equals legend. And I have to say, for the both of you, that works just great. As we close off, Llynda More Boots. Please tell the story of these amazing boots that you designed.
Oh my goodness. Just, you know, necessity, basically. As Mark said, performing in Vegas on stage for many hours a night is very difficult and it starts to hurt your feet. And I just wanted a boot that was comfortable and, that might give somebody different look because they're expensive. A good quality pair of boots that make a fashion statement and look cool and all that. They're not cheap. So I just had an idea to make a boot that was comfortable with 2 parts that would enable a woman to fit her calf size separately from her foot size, because that's a real problem for a lot of women. If you buy a boot in one piece, sometimes you can't get it zipped up because your calf is larger or it's too big. So it solves that problem. And because it's in 2 pieces, I just got on my sewing machine and created this boot top, is what I call it, that is reversible so that you could turn it inside out or wear it on the outside. And you can make 30 different looks out of it. So Mark said, I just made it for me and showed it to my friends. And they were like, wow, really cool idea. And so, Mark, I'll let you add to that.
So she showed me this thing, and I'm going, what are you doing there? And she cut the top off of this thing. And I thought, and the reason, again, like being that it would fit her calf better, and it just made for a more flexible fit for women. And I said, when I saw her do that, I said, we've got to commercialize that. You've hit on something there that is going to make it possible for women who can't buy high boots to buy them, because we size our boot tops to different calf sizes and all this stuff. And I just, to this day, I think it's just a remarkable idea. And when people see it, it's a wow. it's a wow product. People go, wow.
So
It is one of those. It really is.
we happen to be performing at the Hilton here in Vegas, and the Hilton is right next to the convention center. And when people come to conventions in Vegas, they always come through the Hilton to go, they usually stay at the Hilton, and they would pass by where we were performing. And so we met a bunch of people in the shoe business because they have two huge conventions in Vegas every year called the Magic Convention. And we met all these people, and I said, hey, got this idea for a shoe. Oh, come to the show. They give us passes. And we went and met some manufacturers, and we happened to be performing in Hong Kong on New Year's Eve a couple of months later. And we just decided once we were done performing in Hong Kong that we would hop on a plane and go visit a manufacturer or two in the heart of
Smart.
China, which is where 95% of all the shoes in the world are made in China. I mean, no one knows how to do it better than they do. And we had samples made, brought them back. We had a focus group at our house with about 20 women, show them the product, ask them what they thought. Everybody was super excited about it. So we decided to start a small business in a garage. We made 1,000 pairs of boots or something. A friend let us use her garage, and we set it up, and we started a small business. And we tried to make them in America. People, a lot of people are ready to criticize us for making them overseas, and we tried really hard to make them in America or even Canada.
Yeah.
No one would do it. No one was interested in, there's no factory. The entire infrastructure of the shoe industry has left this country. I don't know about Canada, but they've left this country. Everybody's moved overseas. And yeah, there's a few mom and pop places that would make them, but they'd be $600 a pair. So, you can't compete in the market like that. So, we made the boots there, and we've had the business for 14 years. Now, recently, with the economy in the last 3 or 4 years has really hurt us, and we're probably going to be closing our business because it's very difficult now, and we don't really want to go back to China and produce anymore. And we want to just, I hate to say it, but there's not a lot of time left in life, and we just want to music is our passion. We want to put full time into that. So, but anybody that wants boots, now's a good time to get them. Go to www.LyndaMoreBoots.com, and maybe you can show a link.
Yep, we'll be putting that actually into the description. Well, I want to thank you both. The two of you are tremendous. You've hit such great heights. You brought so much joy to so many people. You saw your goals. You saw your dreams. Somehow you ended up together. I love Mark's comment on what he saw first. I'm not going to forget that one. That was really good. And ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to go to the moregendel.com website. We'll be posting that. And if you are traveling, if you're going to Vegas or you're traveling somewhere else, see if Mark and Llynda are playing, because it's worth your time. Mark and Llynda, we hope to be in Vegas the next little while. Hopefully we can have a tea with you. Thanks for coming on the Your Gray Matters podcast. We appreciate you.
It's our pleasure and our honor. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you for having us, Neil. It's great to see you again. It
You
really
too.
is.
Be well, guys. Stay safe. Thanks a lot. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next Monday, as we are every Monday. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. If you found it interesting and you liked it, give us a thumbs up. If you're ready to subscribe, click right here. And if you'd like to see another episode, click right here. Tell a friend. Send us comments. Thanks a lot.